VBA is short for Visual Basic Applications. Okay, it's not VBA. It's not Visual Basic. It's just a feature inside your Microsoft products whereby you can do coding. Okay, coding would basically to automate some of the functionality of your application. In this case, your Excel application. Right? You find that a lot of people that work with Excel in particular would do a lot of features or things on Excel. Okay, many of these things can be customized. Okay. So VBA basically allows you to do that. Okay. Other than that, you can basically run it's basically creating macros. Okay, or creating macros. Okay. You can also record a macro. Okay, but it's not generally creating a code. Okay, but if you would record a macro, for instance, first of all, to work with VBA, you have to have this developer tab open there. Okay, that developer tab you'll find when you click on your right click on your customize ribbon, and in most cases initially it will not be part of your Excel default. Okay, so you basically have to add it by clicking on the ribbon, customize the ribbon, or right click on the ribbon, customize the ribbon, and then check that developer tab over there, and that would this basically shows all the sub items of the developer tab, and then you click on there, and those are all the all the tools for the developer. Okay, the important thing there is to look at your Visual Basic. That is the editor. Okay, the Visual Basic editor is where you will do most editing. Okay, now nothing is, we haven't added any modules or something, okay, in there, so that's why this will be grayed out. Okay, if you want to go back to Visual Basic or the Excel sheet itself, you click on the Excel, okay, while the editor is still open, it will take you back there. Right now, in terms of macros, let's say you want to do certain things. Let's say interval. Okay, let me just first do that. Let's just put on the macro recorder. Over here you can record a macro. Okay, and when you press record macro and you save it as, let's say, macro 1. Okay, whatever you do from here on will basically be recorded. Okay. Yeah, basically steps that you enter there, right? So when you press stop recording, that macro will basically be saved. Okay, if you click on macros, and that would be your first macro over there, and let me just cancel. Let me just take all of that out there. Go to macros, run the macro, and it populates that with whatever you did. That is what happened there. Okay. If you look at the macro code itself, edit, that is all the code that it gives you. Okay. All right. So basically in VB or using VBA, you can write code like this. Okay. If you understand and you know the objects that is available for you. Okay. Now, another thing is, if you are familiar with object orientation, an object is basically an element, okay, which consists of attributes or properties, as well as methods, okay, or functionality. So, for instance, okay, now in VBA, it's sort of sometimes difficult to know what, say, what is a method and what is a property. Okay, like for instance, this would be a property because it allows you to assign a value to that. Okay, the select would not be necessarily a property, it would be a method. Okay, because it does something. Okay, whereas a property would be a characteristics. Okay, where you can assign values to that. Okay, so your VBA, if you want to check all the properties or all the objects there is a object browser button there, which when you click that, it brings up the object browser for all the objects available in your Excel. And this will possibly differ from application to application. Like for instance in PowerPoint, there would be objects called slides or transitions or any other thing that basically associates itself to that particular application. But in here you'll find that these are many of the objects. For instance, if you're looking for, okay, there's chart, okay. Let's look at the worksheet. The worksheet is also one of the top objects basically. So worksheet allows you to look at the column of the columns for a worksheet, and then probably columns in itself would also be an object, okay. Yeah, so you've got your worksheet. You get the name. You can get the name of the worksheet or the names. You can also get all the the worksheet in itself is the sub sheets, okay. Whereas workbook consists of many sheets, okay. So a workbook consists of a worksheet. So you'll find that as a property, but worksheet in itself is also a object, okay. So you have this hierarchy of workbook, worksheet, range, and then together with under worksheet you will have either range or columns, rows, okay. Those are all in the range, columns, and rows. Those are on the same level, and then each of them would have value properties, okay. So if you go to the, let's say, the range object, is range. Okay, range would have a, okay, it doesn't show it here, but it does have a value property there as well, okay. If you look at, if you go to, okay, that module there, that macro that you see there, okay, range, that's a select. But if you, for instance, if you do that, it does come up with a value property, okay, right over there. So for some reason doesn't show all the available. Let me just go back to select. Okay. You see select, okay, just to note there, select there, anything that has got that grey square block there is a method, and all those with the hand and the piece of page there is the properties, okay. So select in itself is a method, okay, and these would basically be properties, okay. Right, so you can you can scroll to all of them to see what other properties are available. So what I'm going to work with now is the range. Oh, that's I checked ranges. Okay, ranges is not the, okay, range is the one that we look at. So it does show it there, okay. Yeah, so value, right? So it's range, not ranges, okay. Right? So we can look at things like the range, and you also have things like cells. Where's cells? Okay. Okay, cells. Where did I sell it? Yeah, no, I think maybe cell is not part. Cell is probably some other type of cell is a property, not necessarily a cell would be a property of a worksheet. Okay, so if you check worksheets, for instance, okay, I just want to go to the, let's go to worksheets.
When you say worksheet is a property of a workbook, I'm just asking.
Yeah, worksheet is a property. You see, when it comes to in object orientation, there's that's a term called composition. Okay, composition is basically where an object has another object as one of its properties. Okay, but that property in itself is also an object. Okay, so in this case, workbook has a property called worksheet. Okay, which in itself is an object. Okay, and then worksheet has got its own other properties. Okay, range is also a property of worksheet. Okay, okay, but the range in itself is also a object. Okay, so for instance, you would let's just go. Right. So you understand all of this here. Okay. Let me just take out all this code. Okay. Okay, now let me not take it out. Let me just take it out here. It's going to be a different. Oops. Doesn't allow me to delete it. Hey? Hey? Yeah, I need to delete the module. If I go to macros there, I can basically delete the macro from there, and that would delete the macro. If I go back, that macro is no longer there, right? Although the module name itself there, but the macro as a function has been deleted. Okay. All right. So just to illustrate, this will not be part of anything. Okay. So if, for instance, you look at workbook, right, so that's not going to work. Let me just create a sub function. Okay, right. That, by the way, there is just creating a function. Okay, I've just created a function, and then you could workbooks. Okay, so under workbook, you could look at. Go back one. Application dot workbooks dot. You could probably find ranges over there, but you don't. Sorry, worksheet. Work. Let's try worksheet. Yeah, okay, anyway, worksheets like that. Okay, for some reason doesn't want to bring up that, okay. Alright, anyway, you can refer to ranges on its own, okay, you don't have to refer to it via another workbook, okay. Only when you oh yes, this is what you need to do. Okay, when it comes to worksheets, okay, you have to specify the name of the worksheet. Okay, so worksheet 1 dot worksheet 1 worksheet worksheets. Just check the. Hey?
How do you check the rate?
How do I? The rate. Okay, no, it's because of an error. It's an error. That's why it brings up the rate there. I'm just want to check the worksheet. Worksheet average. Worksheet. How do I do it? worksheet. Right, let me just leave that for now, okay? That is a function, okay? Let's go back to the Excel spreadsheet itself, okay? Another way of actually initiating a code to generate is to use a button, okay, or something or some event onto the on your Excel sheet. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm gonna just do some feature whereby you can swap one value to one value and two values basically. Okay.
What were we trying at the beginning now? What were we trying at the beginning?
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to look.
Should we put the cell value in function 1 as well?
No. Function is a method which you can basically write. You can create. Yeah, you can add the method in
putting the sub func 1 and then a1 there instead of your.
No, what I'm saying here is if you say a like this, okay, a1, okay, dot value, that refers to the value of a1, okay. So, and then you can say assign a value of, let's say, 10 in there, okay. Right. Alright, let's change this and say let's call it populate, okay, populate. So we're gonna add values to column range A1 and range A2. Okay. So again, range B1. Okay, remember your cells is divided into rows and columns, where the columns is the A values, letter values, and the rows is your numbering. Okay, so A1 is the first column, first cell, B1 is the second column, first cell, the first row. Dot value is equal to 5. Okay. All right. So there you're populating those values in there, right? Then we're going to call another function, or create another method or function basically, and call it swap. Swap. Okay. And in the swap now, if you want to swap two values, you have to have another value that will store one value, and so on. So we're going to create a variable called temp. Okay, so this is how you define, how you create variables. Temp as integer. Okay, or you could say as string. Okay, because at this stage you're not going to do any calculation. So, right. So temp as integer. Now you can define, you can create variables as string. Okay, the string as double. Okay, as no, not float. Yeah, but those are your basic double string integer. Okay. As characters. Okay, which is be similar as string. Okay. But in this case, those will be your three general ones: integer, string, and double. Okay. You can also define it as a currency, okay, or as a date, okay, or as time. No, not enough time. Date is basically time. It includes time. Okay. All right. So for our purpose, we're going to create that as an integer. And then you're just going to write a simple procedure whereby you would, for instance, say temp is equal to, we want to store A1 into temp. So range A1 that value You with me? And then range. Dot value. You can do that. And then finally, range B1 dot value. So A1 goes into the temp, B1 goes into A1, and temp goes into B1. And that could basically initiate a swap.
What is temp?
Temp is just a variable, temporary variable, temporary storage.
So we just have it a random.
No, it's nothing random. It's just a storage location. It's a variable, like declaring a variable. Okay. All right. Before we go further, whenever you want to save macros or code that you've added into an Excel spreadsheet, okay, you have to save your file not as. Let me go back there. If you save it, it will ask you to save it, but you don't save it as an Excel workbook, okay, because if you do, when you come back, in other words, when you close the Excel workbook and you come back, the code will no longer be there. Okay, you have to save it as a Excel macro enabled workbook. Okay, I don't know if you find out that sometimes when you open up an Excel spreadsheet, it comes up with this. You want to enable macros. Okay. So that would be some way there's macros inside the Excel sheet. Okay, so you have to save it as an Excel workbook, Excel macro enabled workbook. That will basically make sure that you can call it VBA swap demo. Alright, so that will save it. But now we've got this code now, but now how do you invoke that code? How do you actually call the code? Okay, let's insert a button over here, and I'll call both methods on the same button. Okay, or you can create two buttons. Okay, where the one would say populate and the other one would say swap. Okay, but right, if you want to change the name of that button, you right click on there, go to the command object, edit, and then you can change the name of that there. Okay, I'll call it swap. Okay, alright, have you added the developer tab?
Oh no, I'm processed. I just want to know the button.
The button. You have to add a button. Insert, and then under active X control. Now don't accept the forms, because those are deals with forms and the active X controls. You click on there, and then you can just draw the button there. Okay. That is known as a command button. If you want to change the text on the command button, you'll go right click and command object and then edit. Okay, Properties will also allow you to do that. Once you click properties, it comes up with all the properties that is associated with that button. You can then go and change the text or the caption rather. Okay, it's the caption, and you can change that to whatever you want. Okay. Right, so now we need to add the code, that, in other words, whatever we want to perform on this button. Okay, so you right click on there again, on the button, go to the view code. The view code will basically take you to the Visual Basic environment there, right? But now it doesn't generate that, that method for the button. Okay, so you have to actually click on the button and view code, and it will create an insertion point basically for that. Underneath the module, inside the same module.
Inside the same module, underneath it.
No, it shouldn't be there. Okay, I don't know. All right, let's just see if it's going to work, but it should be part of this sheet, inside sheet 1. Okay. All right, so what you're going to do here, you're going to call the method. The one method is called populate, and the other one is called swap. Okay. Now in VB, you call a method just by typing the name. Okay, populate. Okay. I've just control space, and it auto fills it. Control space. And then the other one is swap. Let's swap there. Hey? Swap. Yep. Okay. Right. Now, in VBA, you don't specify. In most of the language, you have to state that there. Okay. It's not allowed in VBA like that. Okay. You have to leave it out. Okay. Only if you've got parameters, then you enclose it into brackets. But also, if you've got parameters, you can just have a space, and if the variable is called, or if it's 1. Okay.
So how do you identify a method?
Hey.
How would you identify a method?
You would know what your method names are. Okay. But in this case, if that is like that, that's basically calling a method. Okay. So populate and swap, those are two methods that will be called, okay, on the button click, when the button is clicked. And of course that code is inside your module 1. Okay. Alright, so go back there. Now do you see that the design mode is on? So if you want to test this, you uncheck that, right? And your button is basically active. Okay, so if you click on there, it signs it. Now what you don't see is that if you look at the code there, 10 is assigned to A1 and 5 is to B1. Okay, but then the swap has already taken place. Okay, so if you click on there continually, it doesn't do anything much. Okay, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it's because it's assigns 10 to it, and then it swaps it. Then it's immediately. To see the full effect of that, you basically have to split the code. Okay.
Oh, I make one button for both.
Yeah, because I make it 1 button. I'm going to add another button here. Okay, let me just split this and see the full effect, and I'll come and help you with. Okay, now I want to change the button name. You can, of course, do that. Did you do that? Populate, and then on the code, view code, I'm going to take out that out of there. Oh no, sorry. What is the first one? Is called, the new one that I've added is called populate. Put that in there. And put that there. Okay. So now my two commands is swap and populate. Go back there. So first of all, let me just take out that. Okay. Populate. Oops, sorry. Populate, populates it. Swap, swaps it.
Go back to Visual Basic. What's the button 2?
Yeah, just call it button 2. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Okay.